What's up, YouTube? Welcome to another episode of the Undergrad Forum. Now in this video, we're going to talk about the different components of the residency application. I got mine printed out right here, so I'll just kind of go through it with you guys just so you know what are the components of the application, and as we go through it, we'll talk a little bit about the strategy that you can implement while putting this thing together. Just before we start though, you should know, one, again, this is my never humble and biased opinion regarding how you should do things, so take it all with grains of salt. Whatever you hear that I say, think about it yourself, see if it's good strategy for you, see if it works for you, and talk to people who are attendings and current residents and other people and correspond with them and say, hey, what do you think I should be doing? So keep your ear to the ground. It's good that you're watching this video and getting more advice, but talk to everyone and see what works best for you. All right, so the first thing on the application is called general information, where they just want to know a lot of boring stuff. Your name, your address, your birthday, where you were born, your mailing address, nothing interesting. So that takes no time at all to put together. That is going to be one thing I talk about here. Which parts of the application you can quickly put together and which parts you should really be putting some heavy time into. So that part, don't put much time into it at all. It's easy. Just knock it out. Just don't make sure. Okay, so what's really important here is the email that you put in this section under general information, because that's the email that ERAS is going to use to correspond with you. So ERAS itself, when you put all this information in on the ERAS website, that part of that website also has a email correspondence section, like their own mailbox, where they'll contact you and schools can contact you through it and you can reply back to them. What happens is, since whether ERAS corresponds with you or a school through that mail service, an automatic message will come to the email you list under general information saying, hey, you got a message under ERAS mail portal, go check it out, here's a bit of a preview of it, log in to reply through the portal. The reason why that's important is a lot of schools will send you interview invitations with availability of dates through the portal, and the only way you're going to be able to check throughout the day if you're getting interview invites is to check your email, because it gets forwarded to it. So I would recommend use a professional sounding name email, because when schools interview you who email you personally and not through the portal, they're going to be typing in your email, and if it's something like Hot Barbie 26, that's kind of odd and a little bit embarrassing. So I would recommend just put your first name dot last name at gmail.com. The reason why I like Gmail as opposed to other ones is that on your phone you can download the Gmail mail app, and whenever you get an email, it instantaneously gives you a quick push pop-up, and when you're when you're getting interview emails, you need to respond quickly, and that kind of is a quick interface to do so. There's a video that hopefully is here called Interview Strategy, where we talk about that in detail, because schools send you emails saying, hey, we want you for an interview and here are our available dates, but those dates are on a first come first served basis, so if you respond late, that would really suck, because you could get waitlisted or get an unpreferential date for yourself. So put in a good email. I would recommend a Gmail. Download the Gmail app on your phone so you get quick, immediate push responses to all the emails that go through both ERAS and privately to you. That way you'll never be late. You'll always hopefully get the interviews you want. So there's the simple strategy under general information. They'll ask you about military service or other service obligations. They'll ask you about misdemeanor or felony convictions in the U.S. They'll ask you if you have any limitations. I don't know about any of that. If you are military or have other service obligations, hopefully you know that. Misdemeanor felonies, talk to a lawyer, not me. I don't know. And limitations, I don't know. If you have limitations, I'm sure you're aware. The ERAS service makes it very easy to put in. The next category is medical licensure. So if you have ACLS, BLS, PALS training, you can put it in here. If you have a DEA number or a board certification, they'll ask you if your medical license was ever suspended or terminated. Have you ever been in a malpractice lawsuit? Any past history of having a medical licensure? So for those of you who may have had a medical license in the past, who are reapplying to a program or furthering your residency training, or if you're an IMG and you may have a licensure, you just drop that in there. Next category is medical education, so where you're going for medical school. So far, all that stuff is pretty easy, not too creative. All right, now it comes a little bit creative. This is what I love about ERAS. They allow you to succeed as much as you want or to fail as much as you want. You make your own destiny. So me and my friends spent a lot of hours circled around a desk trying to figure this stuff out. So I'm going to try to give you the fruit of all of our labors. And no, I did not ask them if I could share this information. Too bad if they don't like it. We worked hard. Let's share with the community with the things we thought about. So the first category is medical school honors and awards. They give you a box. Type in whatever you want in whatever format you want. You could write continuous paragraphs. The way we did it, I can't show this on the screen because it has a ton of personal information, but I'll just describe it. We put like a 1 and then wrote our medical school honor, hit like enter twice, put a 2 and wrote it in this kind of a list format. The reason we did it that way, schools are going to print out the application just like this. When they're looking at the application, I will tell you, at some schools, people looked at my application like they brought it up for the first time on their computer, skimmed through it really quick, and started asking me questions. It was very obvious they had not really studied my application. Some schools had studied it down to the individual dates of my activities and asked me minutia details. So given that full spectrum, 1, know your application really well, but 2, compose your application in a way that's easy to read. So this simple thing, it's not all about content here. The content's critical, it's what you did, but putting it together and formatting it in a way that at quick glance you can understand everything is even more important than the content, I'm going to argue. Because if it's, continuous paragraphs, no one's going to read that. So when it comes to medical school honors and awards, like put a 1, a period, write whatever award or thing you got, hit tab twice and put the next one. It'll look double spaced, it'll look so when you look at it quickly, it'll look very clean and easy put together, and someone can easily see the number of awards you have or honors and what they are. Next category is memberships in honorary or professional societies. So you can, again, I would just do the same, list them numerically because they give you a box and you can format it however you like. I wish they had a clean formatting system for you, but they don't. So again, you can win or fail as much as you want. Just work on your formatting to make sure the content here is pure. Here, I think so medical school honors and awards, sorry, I didn't talk about what those are. If you have any honors, that does not, let me make sure, yeah. That includes, I guess, honors in classes and any awards you receive that are directly pertinent to your medical school. So you can put those in, both clinical and basic science years. Membership in honor or professional societies. This can be as broad as being part of the American Medical Association, I guess, but that's not too meaningful. But if you are AOA or Gold Humanism Honor Society, or a member, like an active member of like the American Stroke Association, you actually do something, that's much better. But you could fill it up with mumbo jumbo if you want, but I'm sure people just see really quite through that. Next category is education, so you will list where you did undergraduate, medical school, or any other graduate training. If you have an MBA, a master's, MPH, whatever, you just put that in there. And all you have to do there is say the dates that you attended, the degree, and what you studied. Not hard, super chill. All right, so far it's been pretty simple. All you're doing is making sure you list a good email, making sure that you have good awards and honors listed in a clean way that people can read that quickly. So formatting is what I'm pushing for strategy. And same thing under the memberships and professional societies. The content, of course, is important. You worked hard. That's why I'm emphasizing work on the formatting, make it look simple, clear, and double spaced so people can quickly read it. If things are too hard to read, no one's going to sit there tooth and nail trying to figure it out. It's the pressure and the work is on you to make sure you format the application in your own creative way. I've given you my advice so it's easy to read. All right, the next category is experience. I don't know if there's an experience cap. Is it? No, did I double space this? Nope, okay, lying, it's not experience. Okay, the next category, after your education is current. I double-sided this to save paper, see what happens. Trying to be green. Is current and prior training. So if you did go to a different residency program, you just drop it in here. Next, okay, now it's experience. All right, you can now list, this is where I think you can shine, because the experiences that you list will like paint a picture of who you are and the things that you've done. People's past often predicates their future, so pretty important. So if you did research So like the way the experiences work is that this is a little bit more formatted. They'll ask you, what is the experience? And there's a drop down menu that'll say research experience, volunteer experience, or work experience. Yeah, and you pick from one of those, not too broad, and you then say, okay, so that's my experience. What was the organization? What was your position? What were the dates you worked there? Who was your supervisor? And what was the average number of hours per week that you worked at that thing? And so now you get to list all the things you've done during medical school, or things that you started before medical school but have continuously done all throughout under your experiences. So if you did research, you put that in, that it's a research experience, you did it at your institution or wherever, whatever your position was in the research lab, the dates, who was your PI or supervisor, and the number average hours per week that you did the research. Now comes the hard part. They're going to give you an open box where it's free text called description. So now describe whatever your experience was. Again, this is where you can succeed or fail. Not to sound scary, but man, this is stressful because you're like, okay, what do I write? How do I format it? So I broke it down into what I call problem, goal, status, and leadership roles. So if you're doing research, there's usually a reason you're doing the research. Like, what's the problem or question you're trying to address? So I wrote like one problem, and I wrote what the problem was that we're investigating. Then I wrote number 2, like double spaced again. So 1 period, put the problem, space, 2, the goal, what's the goal of your research relative to that problem. 3, the status, like, are you in the middle? Are you done? Like, what are you, publishing now? Middle of clinical trials? I don't know. And then lastly, 4, my leadership roles. And then I listed those as like 4A, 4B, etc. The reason why I broke it up in this kind of way is because I don't think it's, I mean, you can, but I've seen people who write continuous paragraphs for their experience, and I've seen people break it up like this. I only liked breaking it up because whenever I looked at a paper and I saw someone's big paragraph, I was like, I don't want to read this. But that's just me. Maybe I'm lazy. I don't know. But like, reading a dense paragraph is hard and it's not very fun. But reading sentences kind of broken up with space in between them, because it looks double spaced in the formatting, I just think is a little bit easier on the eyes, and I am more likely to read it. So I guessed maybe other people are more likely to read it as well. I never got any complaints about my style in the interview process. I actually even got a few compliments because people said, you made it easy to read, thanks. And I got a little bit of advice from an attending on how to set it up like this, and me and my friends kind of composed it. So hopefully it works. So 1, problem, say what the problem of, the research you're trying to do. 2, the goal of what you're trying to do. 3, what's the status? And 4, what are your leadership roles? And that's where you really need to shine, because tell them what you did and what's your role. You really want them to know what you're doing. So be honest, but don't undersell yourself either. If you're doing important work, let them know, because it's these experiences that they're going to use to, 1, remember you probably. Because for me, say I'm the YouTube guy who's interviewing, I'm going to be known as, hey, that's the YouTube guy with an MBA who's interviewing for our program. Like, that's probably going to be my one-liner. So remember, your experiences are going to work towards that one-liner when it comes to them ranking, and you want to have a good one. So other research, if you did more, put in all of it. Volunteer work, if you worked for a specific organization in your medical school or a clinic, put it in here. When it came to that, again, you can just simply put what you did. So when it came to volunteer work, I broke it down to 2 things, not 4 like the research. Again, the last you put in volunteer experience. They say, what was the organization? What was your position in the volunteer work? What dates did you do it? And who was your supervisor? And the number of average hours per week. And again, they give you the description. So I broke it down to 2 things for all of my volunteer experiences. 1, I wrote generally what was the volunteer experience, like what was the whole group trying to do. And then I wrote 2 leadership roles, or my leadership roles, and then I wrote what I actually did. So that was my strategy again. I didn't want to write a dense paragraph, my personal preference, and I wanted them to know, here's the goal of the volunteering thing that we did, and here's what I did within that goal. And that's all I did. So list all of your volunteer experiences, or all of your administrative work that you do for the school, if you're on an interest group, if you're on some kind of society, whatever it is that you do, put it on here, because it's part of who you are as a person, and you want it to be displayed as part of your character and your application. So if you did any kind of work experience, I did an MBA during my MD, so I had a bit of work experience. You can list that. If you competed in any kind of school or any kind of medical competitions and you won, I would put them in here. If you have a YouTube channel, I'd put it in here because it just looks cool. So any kind of work, volunteer, or research, put that into your experiences. And I recommend doing the numerical 1, 2, 3 breakdown under the description because it just makes it easier to read. All right, after that is going to be the am I right? It's going to be publication section. Yes, it is. All right, next is the publication section where you will list all the publications you have in it looks like a bibliography. They'll ask you to put it in. They have a formatting thing, like put the names here, put the journal here, put the dates here, and it'll compose it into the proper format, so you don't have to worry about it. And you just put in all your peer-reviewed pubs, pubs that aren't currently published, poster presentations, non-peer-reviewed online pubs, other articles, whatever you have. They have drop-down menus and categories for all of it. Super easy. Just put in your pubs. They'll also, so the last few sections here, they're going to ask you about language fluency. So put all the languages that you're able to speak. And so you put in, say, English or Spanish or whatever, and then it says language proficiency under a drop-down. So you'll pick English, and then under proficiency, you'll pick native, naturally fluent, and then it's, and that's all you have to do. So if you have another language, say you speak Spanish, but you're not too great at it, you'll go under proficiency and you'll put something like advanced or basic or moderate. So just for them to know what are all the languages that you speak, and for each language, what is your proficiency level. Super quick, no strategy here, but just put whatever you can speak. Last two categories require a lot of strategy, unfortunately. Hobbies and interests is one category. And the last one is other awards and accomplishments. Both of these do not give you a lot. Both of these give you a free text box to write in, and they don't give you a lot of space. So once again, you can write a paragraph, or you can write numerical bullet style, whatever you like. So under hobbies and interests, this is probably the coolest part of the whole application because you get to write something a little bit cool about yourself, other than the fact that I went to med school, I studied this, I want to do this. Yeah, everyone writes that. We get it. But hobbies and interests is where you can stand out a bit. So whatever it is you do, whether you like to cook or do sports, or you teach yourself something, or you do something unique, this is where you write it in. Do not write, I like hiking, I like swimming. That's lame. Be cool. Come on, have some strategy here. And I think on the actual ERAS website, or if you go to some school websites, they'll tell you, don't just write something like that. Write something like, I like to hike and I recently did this fancy hike, or I like kayaking and I recently did some cool kayaking, or I did a marathon, or I like to cook and I take these cooking classes, or whatever. I think what they're trying to get at is whatever your hobby or experience is, don't just write it. Write it and then write like a supporting little fragment that says like to what degree you do it, with what level of specialty you have, whatever it is. So here is a chance where I would say you should really spend a lot of time and put something cool in, because putting simple things like hiking, running, and cooking, everyone's going to have that and it doesn't stand out. That may be you, but even if those are you, write some qualifiers along with them. If you like to cook, let us know what you like to cook, where you like to train, or how you know how to cook really well. Don't just say you're a foodie. Everyone is. So write something about yourself here. Really take some time to think. Talk to your family and friends and be like, hey, when you think of me, what kind of hobbies and activities do you, correlate me with, or whatever. So figure that out and put them in. I put my YouTube channel in there because why not? So other awards and accomplishments. Again, they give you a free text box. Here, these are traditionally going to be the non-medical school awards, because earlier on, remember there was that category called medical school awards and accomplishments. This is other awards and accomplishments. I went to business school, so I put some MBA awards I had, and I did some business competitions, so I just put those in there. But don't worry if you didn't go to business school. There's plenty of things I'm sure you've done. So if you do volunteering and you got recognized for it, if you ran a marathon and you got recognized for it, whatever it is, this is your time, in conjunction with the hobbies and interests category above, to really show who you are outside of medicine and the accomplishments that you've made outside of it. So for both of these, I did the same numerical bullet style fashion of organization, because I think that's more easy to read than the paragraph, but up to you. So these last two ones, though they seem more casual and laid back, I would recommend you really put some time into them. because they're important and they really give a sense of who you are. And that's the entire application, except for the personal statement. I'm going to throw it on the ground. The personal statement, I am not a guru at knowing. I think at this point you guys wrote personal statements to get into medical school, to get into college, so you know what to do at this point. You're just going to have to put in a personal statement. I think a recommendation is 1 page, single-spaced, though there I think technically is no real character limit, but don't write too much. Write about, you guys know what to write for the personal statement. I don't want to give bad advice on this. Just write what you normally would. So those are all the components of the residency application. Hope this helped you out. Hope it kind of gave you some insight or things to think about if you're early or coming up close to the application cycle. Let me know if you have any questions down in the links below in the comment section. Write questions on our Facebook or Twitter. As a community, we can all answer each other's questions and help each other out. And as always, guys, enjoy your studies.